Okay, hello, everyone. We'll give it like a minute or so to see if anyone else wants to come also so I can adjust this light. I don't I don't mind working with the light on overhead. I do prefer not to have it on, but I especially don't like recording with it. But this ring light is doing too much. So let me turn it down a little bit. This works. I shampooed my hair last night, so it is very, very big right now. Hi, Tina. Okay, so I brought some stuff to talk about in case, there wasn't too many questions. I think last time I did something like this, I came with no questions or no other stuff besides that. So I am prepared with some stuff, but I'm opening up the floor now for any questions that you guys might have about the court card masterclass, any questions about court cards in general. I mean, as much stuff as you got, as much questions as you guys have, you guys can go ahead and unmute if you want to do that. If anyone just prefers to write it in the chat as well, you can do that. Either one works for me.
Did you already post what the Myers-Briggs ones were?
No,
I didn't get back on Instagram and look.
No, I haven't yet because I was going to save it for you guys and then go back and I'll tell everyone else on Instagram. But yeah, I have it here. So remind me what you are, Emma.
I'm an INTP.
INTP. That's the Page of Swords. That is the Page of Swords. How do you feel about that?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. I think that's like definitely borderline, probably my favorite court card, especially in like the Lightseers Tarot, because it's the one with the like balloons and she's like floating away into her own like
that's nice
adventure of intellectualism, I guess.
Floating into the clouds. Anyone else know their Myers-Briggs type and want to know what court card is associated with it? Mine is INFJ, which is the Queen of Cups. I was like, of course. that's not the queen I usually think of myself as. Okay, Ali is INFP. INFP. That is, where is it? Oh, that's the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups. It's INFP. I used to be INFP. Myers-Briggs, it changes because we change. So it's not this like exact point in time. But yes, INFP is the Page of Cups and INFJ is the Queen of Cups. So I asked in my stories yesterday, I posted a bunch of stuff and questions and questionnaires to get some ideas about what to talk about in the live. So the most confusing court cards were, like all the pages, all the knights, and all the kings. It's so funny that like we're all like, we understand queens. We understand queens in this community. Even when I did, asking like which of the wands courts do you relate to? Which of the cups courts do you relate to? Which of the swords? Which of the pentacles? I think every single one was queen that had the like highest percentage, the most people voted like that they feel like they're the queen. Except for pentacles, it was tied between queen and king. I was like, okay, all right, I see you guys. But the ones that people don't understand the most, at least just like what I got from my audience, was the pages. How do you guys feel about working with the pages, especially now after, working through the class?
To me, I think about the pages a lot like the aces. And I don't know. I don't think they're that confusing to me, but maybe I'm like a Leo moon, so I'm pretty much a child still anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think thinking about them as children or, youthful, I think in the class, I even specifically said that they haven't been fucked up by the world yet. They're a little bit more pure than the rest of their peers in the suit. So it is very similar in that sense to the aces, because the aces are, yeah, that seed, that beginning, how will it sprout? What will it do? And this is the same thing, except for like the embodiment of it as a personality, as a person. Lots of people specifically didn't understand the Page of Swords. That one was the most ones, and the Knight of Swords, the Page and the Knight of Swords. I personally think the Kings are the hardest. I don't know about you guys. The Kings are tough. And I feel like,
agree.
Right? I feel like part of it is just like men. I know, like in the course, I was like, it's not gendered, but like also the dismantling of gender in tarot is going to take some time. Like I studied all the stuff that was very gendered, and so, and every single deck I've seen, very masculine men. Which is great about the Modern Witch Tarot. I don't know if you guys have that deck or if you've, it's the one I usually use in my weekly draws these days. So you've seen it, but it's all women, some are, appear to be more non-binary. But yeah, Kings, man, sometimes they stump me. Sometimes even they stump me.
I think when I think of the Kings, I think more like my grandmother, or the whatever the matriarch of your community, the elderly lady that's sitting on the stoop that knows everybody's business and knows everything that's going on.
Right.
And I think people have a hard time with the Kings is because we are starting to see more women take on the masculine energy and envelop it and say it's okay to be masculine energy.
Right.
I don't have to be this demure, little flower. And I think that's probably why people have a problem with the Kings. Instead of thinking of the king, thinking of, we have this I swear to God, she was like 150 years old, lady at the church. And she knew, whether you talked to her or not, she knew all your business and everything that was going on and what you were supposed to do and who you were supposed to do it with. And I was like, oh.
I love that.
Okay. So that's kind of what when I see the King card, I think of that type of energy outside of man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you used all the right words for it, to help us move from that space of it's about men. Like, no, it's about people who are wise, people who are all up in the community, people who know everyone's business and want to be in everyone's business. It's very much moving from the self. It's taking all the wisdom you've learned in your life and dispensing it on everyone else, even if they don't ask for it. Especially with some of them. Some of those Kings, no one's asking for your help, but thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, person. Okay, I have some notes written down because I also asked people, like, just what's your biggest struggle when working with tarot? So the different answers I have, the first one is connecting to the cards. And that is asked in different ways, definitely, because let's see. Someone also said memorization and interpreting for someone else. Someone said memorization, once again, interpreting the cards. So creating connections with the cards. How do you guys feel your connections with the core cards are as of right now?
The core cards are smacking me straight in the friggin' nose and put their foot in my ass and ran me over with the bulldozer, and then threw me outside and peed on me.
You liked it. Come on.
almost every card that I have pulled this month between the tarot challenge and my daily pull has been a court card, and most of them have been sword court cards.
Same. I've pulled a lot of court cards for this tarot challenge.
Yeah. So I basically told my deck to go fuck itself last night.
Sorry, my puppy is being totally uncontrollable right now.
Your puppy is very cute. It's fine.
I think people, they get so, I think it's again, it's that old thinking that you have to memorize, this is what this card means. If you don't say this card is X, Y, and Z, then you're wrong.
Right. That's the fear.
Instead of taking the embodiment of saying, okay, this is the gist of it. Now, sit with what that gist is and figure out what you're feeling about it. I think people get stuck on, I have to memorize it instead of actually feeling what it means.
Right.
They want that textbook ABCD instead of going, ooh, why does this one make me feel good? Or why does this one make me feel good? Yeah. Versus page 43, oh yes, I understand now. It's like, and I also think that people get stuck on, well, I can't connect with the cards because, once again, the old mindset, it wasn't gifted to me, or, you know, it wasn't this or it wasn't that. You should be able to pick up any deck, whether it's playing cards, I come pick up your deck with permission or whatever, and be able to have some kind of connection to it. You know, I think people get stuck on connection as, you know, you're supposed to like want to roll around in them and be like, woohoo, let's have fun. No, connection means that it's going to tell you probably what you don't want to hear 90% of the time.
Well, that's tarot for you for sure. I feel like part of it definitely could be the fact that, you know, before we're really knowledgeable in tarot and have been working with it for a while, I think most of us perceive it to be this divination tool that can like tell you these like magical things. So you see this card and you're like, what does it say? And you're like, it could say a lot of different things. You tell me. You know, I think of each tarot card as its own world. Like you could hop into it, you know. I think I've even had in tarot mentorship when Emma did it, we went in, we did meditations with the tarot cards. We were supposed to like go into it and see what happens, you know, to help you create that connection and just recognize each card as a world. And I definitely was the type of person, and still am, like any book on tarot, I'll read it and I'll read anyone's interpretation because it helps me, you know, I pick up little things like, oh, okay, I see how that fits into the world. And so then when you pull the card, you go like, oh, okay, we're talking about that thing, you know? It's about trusting that gut instinct too. Just like whatever your first thought was, that's what the card's telling you, even if it seems weird.
They want that yes and no answer. They want to be able to flip a card and it say yes, no, or they flip like the devil, or they flip the tower and they go, oh my God, my life is a disaster. I look at the devil and I'm like,
The devil's a good card. The devil's one of those cards that has so many interpretations too. Sometimes I do pull the devil and I'm like, ooh, which scenario were we talking about here? One question somebody asked I found very interesting, which was when, or like, you know, I asked what's the biggest struggle with reading tarot, and their response was when cards contradict the question asked. I find that so interesting because, I mean, first of all, like
ding, ding, ding on that.
Well, ding, ding, ding. I'm like, no, they don't. But I do understand what you're saying when you're like, okay, what is my blessing right now? And you pull the Seven of Swords and you're like,
that's not a blessing.
Like, I think we need to define what blessing is here. But, you know, even, okay, so with that example, what is a blessing to be grateful of or something, you know, pulling the Seven of Swords, it might be like, maybe someone is lying to me right now and it really is for my benefit. Maybe I'm not emotionally able to, hold space for that truth right now. And it is about being able to recognize that these very negative cards can have very positive impacts. And, what is my downfall right now? You pull the sun and you're like, well, the sun sounds great. And you're like, well, maybe you're being too fucking optimistic right now. You're missing something, So I totally get this. Yeah, when cards contradict the question asked, that means that you need to spend a little bit more time with that card. I mean, it still happens to me. I do it. I ask a question, I get a card that contradicts it. Or at least, the normal way I read the card contradicts it. And then you got to sit and go, okay, all right, motherfuckers, what am I missing? Because it means you're missing something about the fullness of the story of that card, right?
I think sometimes people ask, they ask a very, in their mind, it's detailed question, but it's not a detailed question. It's like, am I going to have a good day? Okay, a good day in what aspect? Like, and then you're asking the cards and the universe to interpret what your brain is thinking instead of saying, am I going to have a good day when I'm dealing with this project today?
Right.
The cards are the cards, you got to kind of like, will I fall in love? I don't fucking know. Are you? The cards
in your whole life, probably once.
Yeah, exactly. The cards are like, okay, well, let me give you a broad spectrum. No, you're screwed. And then people start to freak out instead of saying, is the person that I've been dating for X amount of months, is this something that is a healthy relationship for me? I mean, people want these short sentences to cover this much information.
Right.
And I had a hard time with doing that with tarot when I first started. I was asking questions and I was like, okay, I gotta be more specific in what I'm asking for, because the genie's coming out of the bottle and just not giving me what I want.
Right. And I mean, asking the right questions with tarot is an art form for sure that I think you just pick up over time. It's something that I've thought about recently because I'm good at creating my own spreads. And then I'm like, what does that even mean? Good at creating my own spreads. But it's something that I heard a lot of times when I was first studying tarot about asking the right questions. And it's kind of hard to put into exact words, but I just know for myself, I always want to know the action, the thing to do perhaps. So even if you're in this relationship, and you're kind of wondering if it's going to be more serious or what's going on with the relationship, yeah, you can maybe clue into some energies that are going on or some underlying energies, what's in the near future, but always what can I do to make this relationship healthier? What can I do to make myself healthier? What can I do? What can I do? Tarot is good at telling you what you can do. That's what they don't tell you right off the bat. Tarot wants to boss you around. It's good at it. Let's see. Another question that I liked, or a struggle that someone had that I liked, was, it's interesting. It's one person struggles with reading for someone else and one person struggles with reading for themselves. Just curious with you guys, which one do you think is easier, someone else or yourself?
I think for someone else, it's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. No bias, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't know as many of the details either. So it's easy for you to say oh, I think it has to do with this. And then you don't question it because you're not well, there's 5 situations in my life that this could apply to.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
There's less emotion involved when you're reading for someone else.
Especially a stranger. It's the best time.
When you're reading for yourself, you already have whatever emotion invested that you've posed. And now when you're reading it from that emotional point instead of the point of, okay, I'm just going to read what the cards are laying out. And you instantly want to somehow manipulate the meaning of the card to fit what your emotion already is instead of just sitting in it and stewing in it and looking in the mirror and going, ooh, okay.
Yeah, those action questions, especially, I think I have to do tarot readings for myself that way, you know, because how many times have I been like, throughout mine and my partner's relationship, and like, I should ask the cards. And in the beginning, I could never ask the cards anything because I would just be like, I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what's going on. But now I'm good. I'm like, if I want to do one, I'll just like, it's a bit of a check-in and just like, okay, what is something we should focus on right now? What is something we could do? You know, instead of like, are we doomed? Is he mad at me?
All the life paralyzing questions.
Right. Don't ask a question you don't want the answer to as well. That's a good one. That's a good one to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely took me a lot longer to learn how to read for myself, which I think was a part of asking the questions that work for me and my cards, which are more actionable. And then also just trusting myself more, building my own intuition, being more comfortable with the cards. I found that, yeah, reading for other people, especially strangers, when there also wasn't, with strangers, it's like, and you know, in the readings I do now, I want to know a bit about what's going on in their life to help me ask the right questions, of course, but I don't know anything else aside from that, you know? And so I got nothing else to work with. But definitely in the early days, pulling cards for friends, I would be so stressed out as well, just because they're watching me and I know about their life and they ask this question about, you know, this thing going on in their life. And now I have to tell them and they're expecting this of me. So it definitely is a confidence thing as well when it comes to reading for yourself as well as reading for others. Okay, let's see. Shuffling the cards. One of the struggles was shuffling the cards. Anybody else feel that? I'm shit at it. I just throw them. You know how like if one falls out, it's supposed to be like, oh, that card fell out on purpose. 99% of the time for me, no, that card fell out because I'm doing a not good job. But that's also trusting your intuition, because every now and then I drop one and I'm like, oh, you're talking to me. Okay, I see you. And then sometimes I drop 7 and I'm like, that's an entire spread. And that's one way to do it, I guess. Yeah, a lot of other things about intuition as well, which of course, that's like the number one thing, right? Learning tarot, intuition, memorization, intuition, being a dork, learning a lot. Okay, let's see. Someone said knowing the meanings right away. That's just the same thing, right? Trust that initial reaction, right? Even if your initial reaction is like, they're wearing yellow shoes, you know, then you're going to sit and go like, okay, why do I care that they're wearing yellow shoes? How does that answer the question? What does yellow mean to me? What do shoes mean to me? What else are the shoes doing? Okay. That's basically it for that section. Let's switch back to the court cards real quick. Well, I mean, we all shared our Myers-Briggs, but yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them. That would be boring. We're not going to sit here just listening to me say like, Page of Wands is ISFP. No.
You should post them. Like
I will. I mean, I'm going to go through, because I got a bunch of people responded. So hopefully we're going to get all 16 of them. So they'll be on my stories, my friends. You can check them out there, interpret that a bit more, take note of it, you know? Okay. So I also have notes on, and we'll talk for it. We'll go for a couple more minutes. So the last couple things I have, I also just asked people like, what are the most confusing non-court cards? The first one is Judgment. How do you guys feel about the Judgment card? What is your relationship to that card like?
I love Judgment. I love the Judgment card. I guess for me, I love all of the supposed gnarly cards.
Right.
Because I don't see them as, like, I don't see the Tower as a devastating card. I don't see the Judgment as a devastating card. I don't see, you know, the Devil as a devastating card. I see it as the Mirror. I see it as, okay, shadow work. What are you ignoring? What are you not paying attention to? What have you swept under the rug too long, and now there's a big lumpy bumpy in the rug?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's hard with any card that puts a mirror in front of you and says, okay, bitch,
Tarot is rude. Tarot is rude.
Yeah, well, I mean, tarot is a card out. I mean, tarot is that, what in my mind is that, harsh nun with the ruler, like, do you really want to get smacked? And I think, once again, I think probably with judgment, and the same with, with those is they're listening to that old adage of, oh, well, it's a harsh card. Well, it's a devastating warning, instead of looking at it as it's an opportunity to see somewhere you might need to be working on.
Right. I mean, that's also one of those cards that has like I find that the ones that have more of that like esoteric kind of Christian influence that people are like, what? Like, the other one that's on here is Hierophant and Temperance. Those are the three. Those are the big three I think of that usually people are like, what does this mean? Because the words, I mean, judgment as it's being like shown in that card is more like Judgment Day, as opposed to like judgment, which is usually like, I'm judging you, so that's confusing. And then Hierophant and Temperance are not words we ever use. So, people are like, what is that?
Wow.
How do you say that? How do you spell that? Yeah, for me, I think my relationship to judgment is a bit different than other people's, only because of the numerological, implications of the number 20/2. It's very intuitive, and it has the number 0 in it, which is God, spirit, universe number. And also Judgment Day and, Rider-Waite-Smith cards, like usually have like ghosts on them. So I really feel like it's a card about seeing a lot of signs and like the veil being thin and like just really trusting the things that you're seeing and the things that you're feeling and whatever psychically is coming up. So like, I love the Judgment card. I'm like, yes, let's get this veil thin, bring my ancestors to me. What do you have to say to me? What's up?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jasmine. Ever since we did our mentorship, like I was the same way. I didn't like judgment because I don't like any of those hardcore Judeo-Christian cards. I have a really difficult relationship with the Hierophant as well. So, but like, I always see it as like the universe has your back.
Right. Akin
which means
to...
it's now one of my favorite cards.
Right. It's akin to the Wheel of Fortune, right? The Wheel of Fortune is like, let go and let God, it's sit back, relax, like lean into the energy. Like we're taking over right now. You just need to keep moving forward, and in judgment, it's just taking that to another level. Like, what's up? We're here. How are you? Right. Whereas like in the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like their spirit energy, whatever it is like moving you forward, like pushing you forward. And in judgment, they're like, you're literally communicating with one another. So it's just taking it to another level and the veil thinning a bit more. Okay, so I want to talk about the Hierophant because that's a card that took me a while too. Because it's weird and everything you'd read was always about like priests. And I'm like, how is this relevant when I'm asking, what is the next step to take in my, whatever journey I'm going on, whatever I'm talking, what is the next step to take in my financial journey? I pull the Hierophant. I'm like, donate to a church, like, what does that mean? That's not relevant for everyone. So I'm proud of where I got with the card. I truly feel like the Hierophant is any sort of spiritual leader, but it's also can sometimes just show up as anyone who has divine, sacred, interesting knowledge, stuff that maybe you don't learn in school, that isn't like readily available to everyone. But it's someone who knows their shit and also is in the business of guiding people down that journey, teaching them more about it, because what is a priest if not someone who's like, I have studied the crap out of this book and I want to talk about this book with you so you can get all the lessons from it too, So if we take that to a larger umbrella, it's like anyone who's like, I studied the crap out of this book. I learned some cool stuff and I'd like to help you do it too, So yeah, I'm definitely grateful to have gotten to that place with the Hierophant because it definitely changes the way I use it. One person said temperance reversed specifically. Temperance reversed. Now reversals, that's something, the person before them also just responded with reversals in general. They're like, whatever the reverse, I'm confused, which I could talk about, but wondering if anyone has any thoughts on temperance reversed.
Sorry, this guy got his leg caught in the couch.
Oh, poor Beeb. Poor Dexter.
Poor baby. Temperance reverse to me is about like you're totally out of balance.
Yeah.
And you really need to like be taking that full like step back and take stock of yourself and really try to figure out like where, like it's like asking you to like rest and like really just go back to the river and be like, hey, like what's going on here? Like we need to reset, we need to replenish, we need to refresh.
Right, which is a lot of what reversals do. You know, sometimes reversals are about blocking energy, like purposefully blocking a certain type of energy or action. Sometimes it's what it's about, but I find that more often than not, it's like, yo, this energy is blocked. You need to go rest and retreat, spend some time in your head, talk to your emotions, figure out what's going on, why this energy is blocked. So it's like a lot of, you know, it's the upright card and the energy is there, but it's just like that energy has hit a wall and you got to figure out what that wall is and knock it down. What's really interesting about the temperance card as well, being a numerologist and definitely diving more deeply into numerology before I really became good at tarot reading, was that it's 14. So 1 + 4 = 5. So it's like balance and the number 5. I don't get it, but there's an aspect of freedom to temperance when you find this balance with, and something I always try to remember with temperance is that it's a connection to your higher self. And when you have that connection with your higher self and you're able to like think and act and speak in ways that are just like truly aligned with that vibration, it is a sense of freedom. You know, it is a change and it's a freedom that's going on. So it's like, yeah, you're balanced in an incredibly spiritual way. You're not like balanced as in like, oh yeah, my work day is going great. You're like, no, I am fucking vibing. That's what's happening with temperance.
Well, yeah, right. Like the 1 and the 4. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people that give themselves permission to be like really organized for other people, but they don't give themselves that permission to focus that kind of energy on their like personal lives. And temperance reversed is like, hey, it's okay for you to take care of yourself the way that you take care of other people.
Right. We've got another dog in the mix, but yes, yeah, that's total, you know, that total balance within yourself, not just my mundane world, but also my emotional, mental, spiritual. Let's be vibing. Okay. Let's talk about reversals. The clock is going, so we're gonna be done here in a couple minutes, but let's end on reversals because I think that's a cool thing to talk about. And we kind of already did to a certain extent, but if you guys had to give a newbie some advice about working with reversals, what would it be?
I know for me, when I first started, I didn't work with reversals. When I first started, I was like, hell no. It's already hard enough to grasp the basics, you know, and interpret it one way and get feelings one way. And then as I started, I would, on my daily pulls, I would say, okay, say I pulled, you know, the 6 of Pentacles. I would read it as what I pulled it, and then I would read it as also as a reversal, kind of as I already have the knowledge. Now let's add this in and keep going. So I added reversals in very, very, very slowly. And sometimes I won't read if I'm reading something and the reversal doesn't seem right, then I don't read it as a reversal.
Right. Yeah, it can be hard because one of the I remember a big moment for me, probably like honestly 2 years ago is when this happened, is me realizing like, oh, reversals just mean that energy is internal. You know, it's perhaps not something that's happening actively, but it's something that's happening internally. But then sometimes you pull internal cards already, like the High Priestess, and she's reversed, and you're like, wait, what? But that's why, I mean, it just took me a while to work with them to realize, oh, okay, there's quite a few things it could mean. It could mean that it's just something that's happening personally. It's something in my mental, emotional, spiritual world, and not in action. It could be that that energy is actually blocked. So the High Priestess reverse could be like, you're not listening to your intuition in a big way, my dude. But it could also mean like, no, don't listen to that. Especially circling back to court cards, especially with certain questions. I find when I pull a reversed court card, what's happening is sometimes the message is, don't listen to whatever, you know, person, group of people, whatever, if it's your entire work company, whatever kind of impression they're trying to put on you right now, like whatever they're trying to make you feel, don't listen to that. Like I'm getting a clear message. It's a no. Put up a wall, put up a boundary. But I find that boundaries are only with court cards when you reverse them, you know, put up that boundary. I mean, to be fair, there are some like people that you can find in the other cards. Like the magician could be a person, right? The magician's a person, emperor, empress, all that stuff. Even though they definitely represent actions, they could be, they're persons too. Yeah, Emma, what would you say to someone who's starting out with tarot, working? How do they work with reversals? What should they do?
Well, I try to use your method as much as possible. So, you've probably said most of what I would say. I guess the other thing I would say though is, you know, I know that typically what a lot of people say is you're supposed to interpret it as the opposite of what
Right.
the upright meaning is supposed to be. And I honestly find that the way that I interpret it as an internal influence often is just a nicer way to say the thing that the book says the reversed meaning is. Like, I remember I gave a reading to one of my friends, now ex-husbands, and I pulled the King of Swords reversed for him, and I was reading it freestyle for him, but he picked up the guidebook and like was reading about it. And I kind of am glad that he did, because I very nicely put that, you know, it could be that he was like not listening to his higher self about something, but the book straight up says that it's like, you're displaying toxic masculinity. And I was like, I'm glad your intuition told you to pick up this book and read it, because honestly, that's probably the message that you should have received anyway.
Right. His intuition was like, no, pick it up.
Trying not to be rude about it. But I mean, you know, I feel like going ahead and reading it upright, if you don't vibe with the reverse meaning,
yeah,
you know, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. You're gonna get the message that you need to get out of it, I think, is the key thing.
Yeah, trust
that has
yourself.
always helped me, and that I really appreciate when other readers tell me, like, you need that energy, whether it's reversed or not. Like, that energy is present, and you'll get it when you're supposed to get it.
Right.
Whether you are thinking about it as a good thing or a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. I think our call is going to be cut off very shortly, so I'm going to wrap it up. Even though I could keep going forever. Thank you guys both for showing up and for being very active participants. I was